Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Burger. I'm Carol Ann Romo, the Executive Director for the New Mexico Beef Council, and I'm here with Candy Baca. Very excited. We've been talking about it for a long time. To start off, will you introduce yourself and maybe talk about your background?
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's quite an honor to be on the Beef Podcast. I watch it all the time.
Oh, thank you.
And so just as you mentioned, my name is Candy Baca. It's Candy Baca, and I go by Candy. And we ranch about 26 miles east of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and have been there for generations. Took over the ranch not in the most ideal way. It was because of unexpected death, and that was in 21. But since then, we created a beef program to make it self-sustainable, and here we are today.
Absolutely. Well, what a great thing that you were able to kind of continue the legacy despite the sad circumstances.
Thank you. Yeah, beef was not something that we had ever done. Even as a child, I always remember, of course, we had our own beef, our own lamb, etc. But as far as being beef producers, we were commercial. And so this direct-to-consumer side is something that is new, and you learn every day.
Absolutely. No doubt. We'll talk about some of those learnings. Well, kind of tell us the history of the operation. I know you mentioned you took over in 2021, but I'm sure there's some history too.
Yes, ma'am. So like a lot of New Mexican ranchers and farmers, we started out with sheep. And so I don't know how far back as far as the great-great-grandparents' names and all that. I wish I did. But as far as ancestry is concerned, I'm 6th generation. My son is 7th. And beef came into the picture, I guess, about 4 generations ago. And so since then, it's been a cow-calf operation. And, your animals and your crop head off in the fall, and you just kind of hit repeat. And so we are first-generation beef producers. And, again, just it's something that if you had asked me, 6 years ago, or if you had told me that I was going to be a beef producer today, on a beef podcast, I would have denied it with every thread in me.
Yeah. But so the cattle was always in the plan, but that selling beef is a new thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me about your cattle. How do New Mexico's landscapes and climate shape how you manage cattle?
Well, it's actually the main deciding factor in how we manage not just our cattle, but our land. I'm a firm believer that if the soil is healthy, then the rest is just kind of a domino effect. And so I almost hate to say these 2 words, regenerative agriculture. It's just so trendy, but really we've been doing it our whole lives. And before it was, cool and a trend. And so that's what we do. We rotate pasture. Everything is natural on the ranch. As far as our program, we don't implement AI as far as our artificial insemination at this point, and that's nothing against anybody who does. Everybody does what their own program allows. But we really try to cater to the natural forage, and just as far as what we have out there, that's what we give them for supplements and, of course, whenever we have snow on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about regenerative agriculture. While it is trendy and sometimes, confusing or vague, it's exactly what ranchers do, right? Many ranchers, even, the largest ranchers, a lot of times are practicing things that are regenerative. We just maybe didn't have the label for it always.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes. What a great way to be, right? Giving
yes,
care to the land and regenerating, grasslands and all of that, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's almost like, this one big umbrella and all these different practices fall under it. And some have been ancient, some are new. Some include a lot of technology now with the other AI, and so we're glad to be part of it.
Absolutely. What's one of the biggest challenges you face on either side of the business, from the cattle to the beef?
Paperwork.
Yes.
I personally, my struggle, the paperwork, I just wish that it would secretly get done at night and everything I needed was there in the morning. Unfortunately, paperwork is a huge part of an operation, and it's what keeps the ball rolling. And so, but if I had to pick my least favorite, it would be attrition. That's just an ugly side of everything. I don't care what industry you're in.
Yeah.
And so that's, one of the challenges, and it's something that we definitely try to mitigate on the ranch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love, as we're recording this, it's, kind of tax season, right? And so I think every person or every American can understand paperwork today,
ma'am.
specifically.
This
Of course,
whole month.
once we publish it, it'll be past tax season and we can all, have a beer and a steak about it and enjoy. But yeah, I think that paperwork resonates with all of us, right? Paperwork's
ma'am.
tough. And you want to be a cowboy, you want to be a salesperson. Those are the maybe fun jobs.
Yes.
But the amount you spend pushing paper is pretty crazy, right?
Teaching myself marketing.
Yeah.
Small operations like us. I mean, I've seen it over and over and heard it over and over where one person, we wear so many hats, CEO, the janitor, I'm the CFO, and I'm also the marketing director. So.
Yeah, and sometimes a plumber, probably.
And sometimes the plumber.
Right? It's multifaceted.
Yes, ma'am.
What can you share an example of how you care for your cattle and their well-being?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I think that everything that we do every single day goes into their care, from starting at the paperwork to ensuring that even their genetics are, that we're not crossing, definitely no inbreeding. That's something big because we retain all of our heifers. And so, we're in that slim little area where you have to rotate them out. Back to supplements, through droughts. The coat of an animal will tell us a lot, mostly what they're deficient in. But the list goes on. Vaccinations. A lot of people, maybe they'd like to have their vax-free meat or whatever, but I'm sorry, without especially those initial vaccinations, we maybe might not have as much beef to eat. And so I believe that's a critical part of a program. And then the health of the land, because without the health of your soil, you have no forage and you have nothing.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This episode of Behind the Burger is brought to you by the New Mexico Beef Council. At NMBC, we're all about supporting New Mexico's ranchers and bringing the story of beef to life, from pasture to your plate. If you're enjoying these conversations, be sure to follow us on social media to keep the journey going. You'll find us on Instagram and TikTok at NMBeef and on Facebook at NM Beef Council. We're sharing ranch life, beef tips, recipes, and the people behind the plate. Come be part of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. The vaccinations one is a hard question because we understand that some consumers might choose a certain way, some producers might choose a certain way, and like you said, we support all ranchers. We appreciate the differences and similarities in a lot of ranching.
Yes, ma'am.
And then in some ways, the vaccines make a lot of sense that we can prevent diseases that no longer impact cattle because we have vaccines.
Yes, ma'am.
We can help with your death loss, which
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
is what you're referring to when you say attrition, right?
Exactly.
Literally keeping cattle alive sometimes the vaccines can help.
Literally, and kind of since we're on the subject of vaccinations, this New World screwworm, this thing is scary, and it's there. It's not a potential, it's there. And so I think that also having good biodiversity programs and plans in place one thing that I take away a lot from cattle growers is how, I mean, these are my words, but basically an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So having all of these emergency plans in place, whether it's a fire contingency or just whatever, the New World Screwworm plan could really save your operation, because in the heat of the moment, how sane are we to formulate a whole plan and think about, all of our neighbors that we can call? I know that I wouldn't be able to.
Absolutely. Yeah, having a plan is a great thing. That's why I have a fire blanket under my sink, right at the stove. I don't plan on a fire, but I plan at what to do if there's a problem. And the New Mexico cattle growers have been doing a lot of stuff in the New Mexico Livestock Board, the New Mexico State Vet, Dr. Hollick.
Yes.
All of their conversations about preventing and that New World Screwworm. Definitely the source of information would be the Livestock Board and the cattle growers for if you guys have questions. But absolutely, it's something that cattlemen and cattlewomen of New Mexico and all of these southern states are going to have to think about this summer.
Yes,
and plan
ma'am.
for the possibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So everything we do is for the cattle's health and well-being, right? So many
Yes.
decisions to make, and all of that. What's one thing most people don't realize about raising beef in New Mexico?
One thing about raising beef in New Mexico, well, we are a state, first and foremost. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I love that, because we do have listeners from other states, and I've lived in other states, and when you tell them you're from New Mexico, they go, "Where? Really?" And we're like, no, it's a state. It's over there.
It exists.
In between Arizona and Texas, quite large.
Yeah.
Quite important.
Yeah, we have a state cookie and all that stuff.
Yeah, lots of great things.
No, but on a serious note, I think that a lot of people don't realize how many beef producers are in New Mexico. Your neighbor, your family, I guarantee you that you know somebody that knows a beef producer or is one. And so I think that it's really important that all of us support each other and keep that in mind, because sometimes I see competition or, I see this a lot, the grass-fed, grass-finished versus grain-finished and all this and that. And for me, it's like the bread aisle. There's enough for everybody to eat. There's enough brands to, supply the demand. And we just all need to, I think, help each other. And but I would definitely say that most people don't realize how many beef producers are in this state.
It's a very important part of our economy. Yes. I know we go to schools often and we talk to them. One of my favorite trivia questions is the basically how important is beef to our state, and what's the biggest agricultural product, and usually I'm looking at the gross domestic product, so it's kind of value, and number one is dairy according to the data that I got. Number one is dairy, and then number two is beef. Well, that means cows, specifically cattle, are so important to New Mexico and our agriculture industry and our whole industry, jobs and all of these things that add up to the importance of cattle in our state. And so I agree. I fully support that.
Yes.
Fully support that statement. And as you're driving through our, beautiful highways and roads in New Mexico, you're often passing ranchers doing business, doing work. And if you blink, you miss it.
Yes.
It's really special.
We're very local.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of producers. I think we have more than 80 options on the local beef directory, you guys being one of them. Wow. And I think that's a special thing that folks can find local beef and local producers, and and hopefully they're finding the podcast for the story so they can get to know you all.
Yes, no, you guys put out a lot of resources, and that list is one of them. So thank you.
We hope. Yes. We're trying to serve you all better. What led you to selling beef directly? So you kind of already mentioned it and kind of, hinted at that, but tell us about the process of starting to sell beef.
Well, sometimes I just dream real big, and
as you should.
Thank you. This is real big. I just, lost my dad, and what I did was signed up to be a cowbell, signed up for cattle growers. I was at the joint stock convention December of 21, and I came out of there ready to conquer the world because I saw all of y'all that had already done it, were doing it, and everybody in the world offered me their help and resources if I chose to dive in. So I chose to dive in, but with that being said, in my mind, I was going to find, 3 to 5 restaurants. At the time, I wasn't really crunching the numbers on how much beef they would need, but I thought that it would just be real easy peasy. I would find the restaurants, and then I would supply them, and that would be it. Well, as I learned about USDA and just all of these other specifics, I realized that we had a shortage of, and maybe it's not too much of a shortage, but where I'm located, it just wasn't really feasible. And also, like for instance, a processor up north, I believe at the time his wait list was 3.5 years. And so he didn't even really have a wait list to the wait list at that point. Not his wait list, but that's how far out he was taking dates.
Right.
So he wasn't even bothering with a wait list. And so, long story short, kind of found out about direct to consumer. What I did was I basically stocked out 10 ranches across the nation. And I just kind of educated myself for 6 months. In December, I went ahead and called my processor, made dates for January on a Hail Mary, and the rest is history. And we just learn along the way. And one thing is, I've come across people that are just so generous with their information, with their contacts. There's also gatekeeping. So we make it our mission to never gatekeep. I don't ever want to gatekeep. And if somebody ever catches me gatekeeping, please call me out because life's too short and every industry is hard. And if we can just help pick up somebody or, answer a question that maybe has been stumping them for a month, why not?
Absolutely. I actually sat in the same chair recording a different podcast, and I mentioned it that I have a friend who is a keynote speaker, a really excellent keynote speaker. Her name's Marky Hegeman Jones, and she has a speech about being a gate getter. And
Wow.
She's absolutely inspired me. She has a small operation, does direct to consumer in California, and absolutely, we got to be gate getters, right?
Gate getters. I love that.
I mean, I don't really want to be the person in the passenger seat that has to get the gate, but I do want to be a gate getter when it comes to inspiring others and sharing information. Because what a great way to be. So all credit to Marky on the saying, but
A beautiful analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be sharing information. So what questions do customers ask most often when buying beef?
Oh, there's a lot of questions. A lot of questions about the cut sheets.
Yeah.
Customers, they really want to know if they can go and look at their animal.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, a lot of questions about finished weights.
Okay.
A lot of questions about the customizations. Mm-hmm. Questions even about the rail weights.
Yeah.
And, like sitting there and explaining to people what dry aging is and how the loss literally just dissipates into thin air and it's normal.
Yeah.
But you get this tender beef and why, and explaining the enzymes. They have all kinds of cool questions. Honestly, through my customers is how I've learned.
Yeah. That's beautiful. We actually are working on a resource, so we got really excited when you said that because we're working on a resource that you can give to customers. That there was a older one, and we just updated it with the help of we get to use the team of they're called a service desk at National Cattlemen's Beef Association through our federation membership. Okay. So it's all on the checkoff side, and they help create stuff. So anyways, I digress. The resource is about that, about the aging, about how long it might take, how much meat you're going to get from this amount of thing, and why, and all the cuts. So we'll have to get you some of those.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Their questions are all about the yields at the different points.
It's a yield. It's a yield resource. So we're excited about those. So we'll get those. And And shout out to Joe Madrid. He was the one who kind of asked for more of those, and so we updated them. So
awesome.
Yeah, we're excited to get you those.
Thank you.
And if any direct to consumer producers are listening too, we can get them to them as well, and or processors or anyone. Honestly, we've got the resources. Well, cool. Well, I think that's really neat to learn from your customers, and you become an expert on topics that you never thought you would. Probably
exactly. Learning new terminology.
Absolutely.
Because then I'd go and ask my butcher questions, and he'd be like, "Well, this is actually called, the hot rail weight, or whatever."
Yeah, all the things.
Going through the tour and. It's its own language.
Absolutely. And I always say, thank you for the story you're telling to consumers, because, it's my job, right? I get paid to be at the New Mexico Beef Council. We're supposed to promote and teach consumers. Well, you're out there doing it. So thank you for that work.
Well, with your support, because you guys do support us a lot.
Oh, good.
So I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. We're happy to. What's the most rewarding part of the business, whether it be the cattle or the beef, the industry as a whole? What's the most rewarding thing?
There's a lot of rewarding things, because you're doing it with your family. It's a dream that in my case I wasn't really sure I was going to be able to do, but I have a little quick short story about a customer who she had very severe, I guess I'll call them allergies. I don't really know diagnoses and all that stuff. But she had very severe allergies to beef. And she had never bought direct to consumer. She was having issues with beef for years. And when I say issues, I'm talking inflammation, indigestion, all the IBS, just all the gnarly stuff that we, when something just doesn't agree with us. So it was almost like when somebody is lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
So that's how she was with beef. Well, anyways, fast forward, she missed her beef. She grew up on it. Doesn't know when her body decided to switch it up on her, but she was a primary consumer of, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, just of a huge corporation where a lot of us buy a lot of our groceries, aka Wally World. And so anyways, she had never really bought meat or anything outside of her grocery run, so decided to buy direct consumer from us. Her husband and my dad knew each other back in the day, so she came straight to us. Well, long story short, she can eat beef again, and I don't have the answer. I don't know why. It's when she called me up that day and she's like, "Look, when you're about to sell out, I want to, please let me know, like, don't ever let yourself sell out without me getting on a list to get a beef from you every single year."
Yeah.
And so, and she told me why. And it made me pretty emotional, because to think that I have a product that somebody can now eat that they weren't able to, and I don't think it would be just my product. I think she could get a beef off any ranch in New Mexico and she'd be fine. It's just something about the commercial process or the packaging or all of the above that her body just will not put up with anymore. So that was very rewarding for me, hearing a success story, I guess.
Absolutely. That sounds very rewarding.
Yes.
Yes. I love that. So what's something you're excited about right now in your operation?
Well, all I'm going to say is Beef Master. It's a bull, and we are actually collaborating with another ranch. It was a kind of a win-win situation, and everything just kind of fell into place. And I believe when things happen organically like that, they're meant to be. So we're working together through the end of the year, and it's a Beef Master bull. I mean, it's in the name. So we're super excited. I can't wait to see what kind of calves that this bull throws. We're just, it's a waiting game at this point. But he just got on the ranch last week. And so I'll definitely have to let you know how that goes.
Yeah, that is very exciting, and that collaboration with another local rancher is special.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Beefmaster too. Just for the listeners, if you're not as familiar, Beefmaster is just another breed of cattle, right? So
Yes.
just another breed. It has, aren't they red? They've got some Brahma influence in them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So that, a little bit of the floppy ears, solid as can be, like a rock. And so that's kind of what we're going after, maybe to fill in some of those voids. And so we're putting him on Charolais, Red Angus, and Black Angus. And we're just real excited. We want to see what this big red boy can do. He's only 2, and he's ready to work. He was ready to work the minute he got off the trailer. So he's just he's young. Like I said, he's absolutely beautiful. So I'd like to give a shout out to, if I may.
Absolutely, please do. I was hoping you would.
Yes, to I always want to call them Rivera Farms, but it's R Double Bar Ranch, and we just want to say we're so excited for the collaboration and thank you. And we look really forward to see, where this is going to go and to share the pictures and the yield, because if this is something that can beef up everybody's yield, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, congratulations
Thank
and
you.
good luck on that.
Thank you.
That's really exciting. Tell us about a hard lesson you've learned along the way.
Okay, well, this one is a little embarrassing, but I'm willing to share my embarrassment for, if somebody else can pick up something from it. It's another little story. Do we have time?
Absolutely. Everything is recording too, right? We're still okay.
Okay. So, and I'll be quick. It's you'll get the punchline quick. But, like I said, walked out of the Joint Stock Convention in December with the confidence of a queen, ready to conquer the beef world, thinking I was going to be in restaurants. And so, fast forward to July, and now I'm all of a sudden a humble direct-to-consumer producer. And I ended up scheduling July. I scheduled a whole year worth of harvests, 1 animal a month. And I think we were on about month 8. And just my butcher, I love my butcher, Mr. Jaramillo's, him and his sons and his wife, they're a family operation, and they're amazing. And this is what I mean by people that don't gatekeep. He could have easily never told me anything, but just in a mentor fashion, he pulled me aside, and he just, as kindly and with as much grace as he could, he just gently shared with me that I was the only one bringing in 1 animal a month, and paying for transport every single month for only 1 animal. And that if I would just do him a favor and just, go home and just maybe think about it, crunch the numbers. Of course, I didn't have to go home. I didn't even make it to my car before I was crunching the numbers. And I knew immediately what he was telling me. And so even if I were to cut that in half and go every other month, now I'd be splitting my transport in half. And it's quite a long ways. You're talking east of Las Vegas, New Mexico, to Los Lunas. So that was a great lesson for me. It was a monetary lesson. It was something that I can share with everybody. I guess that I had dotted so many I's and crossed so many T's. At some point, I just checked out and stopped thinking. I'm not really sure how that got by me.
Oh no, I feel, that sounds like an easy mistake or easy lesson to learn. When you said it, I took me a second of
Yes.
Especially fuel prices nowadays.
Yes.
So may I ask how often you do it now? Are you
Sure?
Yeah.
So we went from there. We went to six a year. Then we moved to 4, and then now we do 2.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you've really listened and adjusted.
We really streamlined. So what we'll do is we'll do a spring, and then we'll do a fall right
Okay.
after the summer hay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're only 2
Excuse me,
sets
the
of
summer
transportation.
grass.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing and being willing to share.
Yes.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oof, there's a few of them. This one, hands down, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Wake up every day and thank the good Lord, and not just thank Him, but be grateful for the life that we're allowed to live. a lot of people, they want to be cowboys and cowgirls. And so the fact that we really get to do that, and especially in a state like New Mexico, where that's been the way of life forever and a day, somebody reminding me to treasure that. I really try to do that every single day. What else? Just to care for your animals. Care for your animals and take care of them, and they will take care of you. Those words are not, couldn't be more true.
Absolutely. I think I've heard you say that and others say that. Take care of them, they'll take care of you.
Yeah, it's definitely a circle. It's kind of like a good vehicle.
Yeah.
Yep,
got to take care of her a little.
Yeah, exactly. Put some love into them and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's both relatable and true.
Yes, ma'am.
What's something people might not know about you outside of the beef business?
Oh, outside of the beef business, I will share that it's kind of a fun fact that both my parents were generational ranchers, and they both had some honky-tonk bars back in the day in rural New Mexico. My mom's side was in Rociada, New Mexico, and then my dad's side was in Trujillo, New Mexico. So that was just really strange for my parents to come together, and they both had such a similar...
They both had families that owned a bar.
And started out with sheep.
Yeah.
And so that was cool. And then as far as me personally... not a lot of people know I used to work on helicopters. I was an electrician on helicopters in the Navy.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I'm a very technical person, and that's why sometimes I'll read a question and I read it completely different than how it's intended. But, those are some fun facts.
Yeah, those are very interesting. I feel like being an electrician on a cattle operation is very handy, probably.
It comes in handy. A lot of things are aptitude, I guess. It just comes,
Yeah, you like my dear friend says everything is figure-outable.
Yes.
Well, I bet it's a lot more figure-outable when you know electrician.
It is, and you already know the tools and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. That's really neat.
Thank you.
Is there... So this is kind of one of my favorites. Why do you do what you do? When it's hard, when it's learning curves, when, the restaurant dream didn't work necessarily, why do you keep going?
Well, definitely for both the past generations and the future. I mean, that's my answer in a nutshell. I really, really miss my past generations. And my son is 19, so I'm really looking forward to future generations. And I'm here somewhere stuck in the middle, and I just want to leave with more than I was given and or in better shape. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to be quantity, just better than it was. And so, and for my future grandkids, I will do anything, and I'm already doing everything for them.
That's perfect. That's a great answer for both
you.
the past and the future generations. That's very special.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
No better inspiration, in my opinion. Is there anything you'd like people to better understand about the beef industry or even just buying beef directly from a producer?
Yes, I would like to remind people that you are helping out a family. A small local family, not the big four, not huge corporations like Albertsons, Smith, Costco, and nothing against these places. I hit them up every Saturday too, but when it comes to beef and anything that you can, I think just buying local, you're really making an impact for that family. For some people, you are the yes to their dream. And for others, you are the yes to them being able to pay the light bill. And, for others, you're allowing a legacy to move forward. And for others, you're allowing them to start that legacy. So just buy local. Like I said, here in New Mexico, we're everywhere.
Absolutely. And And just because I represent all of the beef producers in the state, and I will say, you have to buy beef where you are too, right? We want you to support these small families and local producers. And like you said, sometimes I have to buy my beef at a grocery store, sometimes economically, sometimes convenience, and all of that. And by buying beef where you are, at a restaurant, at a grocery store, it also helps you. It also helps every producers, right? So we really want you to buy beef.
Yes.
And then today and in this moment, I'll say, and we want you to buy beef from Candy, but we also want you to buy beef from any one of our producers on our local beef directory, and all of that buying beef supports a family.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's absolutely the story that we like to tell. It does, right?
Yes, ma'am. I feel that as long as people are buying beef, everybody's winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's even just from my side. You can tell them to buy just for me, right? I have to be agnostic in the sense that we support all beef, right?
Yes.
But absolutely, you should tell people to support your family.
Oh, thank you.
What advice would you give someone who wants to follow a similar path?
I would say do it and don't wait. All these things that you're writing down, jotting down, and planning, just start with your processors and schedule a date and make yourself a goal that or make yourself a date that you cannot cancel, and just hold yourself accountable, and you'll be happy that you did.
That's great advice. And you're living proof that just do it, right? You did it.
Just do it.
You've done it.
Just leap.
Yeah.
And you'll figure it out along the way.
Absolutely.
Life's passing us anyways.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the fact that you did leap in 2021, and now here you are.
Thank you, ma'am.
Still selling beef and growing.
Thank you.
So here's a fun question and kind of our final question.
Okay.
What's your current favorite way to eat beef?
Well, I'm obsessed with chuck steak.
Okay.
I think that it is just the hidden gem on that animal. And I'm falling in love with oxtail.
Okay.
So they're both kind of, chuck steak, the poor man's ribeye, and then oxtail, just this humble cut.
Absolutely.
And I'm in love with them both.
Well, if you have recipes for those specific cuts, we'd love to put them on
Okay.
the website, and we can link to them, or pictures of when you've cooked them.
Okay, I got all the above.
Yeah, good. That would be great.
Awesome.
And then, cool. Was there anything else that you'd like to add? Maybe, we've talked about doing this for a while, something you wanted to make sure and get across. Anything else?
I think the only thing I'd like to add is how grateful I am for the support from you guys. I don't know, the different demographics of people that are going to be watching this, but I think it's important that everybody needs to know how supportive our Beef Council is.
Thank you.
I'm talking packages for customers, questions, information. I have never called and either not had a call returned or you guys answered. So I think we covered a lot, but I want people to know that we don't have to do this alone. The support and the resources are there, and our Beef Council is amazing. And thank you for having me.
Oh, it was very gracious of you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast, to share what you know, what you do, and most importantly, thank you for your commitment to help feed the world and to feed New Mexicans with high quality protein. So
Yes, thank you.
yeah, thank you again, and thanks to our listeners for listening to another podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Behind the Burger is produced by the New Mexico Beef Council to celebrate the people and stories behind New Mexico beef. Thanks for listening. Follow the show so you never miss an episode, and connect with us on social media for more behind-the-scenes stories and updates. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at NM Beef, and on Facebook at NM Beef Council. We'll see you next time, and until then, beef, it's what's for dinner.